Hey YouTube, we are going to talk about card grading today. We're doing it. I might ruffle some feathers. So, I have some thoughts. Been thinking about this for a while. Did a little bit of research. Um, just some things I wanted to toss out there. So, essentially, there are three main companies. Beckett, PSA, and the little underdog that could, SGC. My question for you all today, and I will propose some evidence. And before I even get into this, I am strictly talking about this from a perspective of getting cards graded to resell. I understand certain people have certain preferences for certain slabs. I get it. That's perfectly fine. That is not what I'm talking about today. So hold your pitchforks and torches. I am strictly talking about from I want to buy some cards raw, or I open some packs, I want to get them graded, and I want to sell them and maximize my profits. That all being said, and this is coming from someone that has now graded cards with all three companies. I do not have my SGC cards back yet, but I have submitted and gotten cards back from submitted cards to all three companies. Gotten them back from BGS and PSA. I don't know from I hate to say the word flipping, but from a business / investing standpoint, I don't know why you would ever use BGS. Ever. State of the industry right now is all three grading companies are backed up a mile. That is news to nobody. All three companies are current on ultra fast turnaround times. So if you want to get something back in a week, you could get something back in about a week. I would know I submitted a 2-day order on my Curry and Harden Genesis. And I got them back within about a week and a half. I did a express order with PSA and got them back in about a week and a half, which is right about where they should be on those couple Zions that I got back graded. So for your normal, and I'm not going to talk about doing big bulk submissions. I'm talking about if you want to submit yourself. I understand the service that the bulk guys provide. It's not for me. I prefer to submit cards myself. It is not that hard to clean cards and get them prepped to send off. It does take a little bit of time. I just don't feel comfortable sending off hundreds or thousands of dollars worth of cards to a third party to handle them, submit them for me, get them back, and get them back to me. One, I have to mail them to them, then they have to mail them to PSA or wherever, and then they get them mailed back from PSA, and then they mail them back again to me. To me, every time a card goes in the mail, you're just saying a little prayer at night, hoping it gets to you in one piece. Sure, stuff's insured and all that, but that's not the point. But in general, I'm talking about submitting for your own perspective. So I'm not talking about doing mass bulk orders either. All three companies are massively backed up on bulk orders right now. I'm strictly talking about I want to submit 10 cards like the PSA preview submission I just did a couple videos ago. I want to submit 10 or 12 cards and send them off to PSA. A perfect example of this is right off to the camera here. My work area is a mess. I just went through last night and kind of sorted through another batch of stuff that I want to send in for grading. Nothing too crazy here. You know, some optics, some Zions, some pretty decent stuff. And those are probably going to go to PSA. So this is, let's see, we'll use this as a good example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's just say this is a 10 card order. We'll say I get a 10th card in there. I want to ship that to, and those are all relatively not crazy high value cards. There's a price banding. You know, if the card's worth so much graded, it has to be submitted at a certain service level. Everything in there is under $500 most likely. With BGS, the most likely category, I have it pulled up right here, is this 30-day sub right here. This is $30 a card. Okay, with 1 to 50 cards, which we would be doing 10. So that would be $300 to get that back. All right. One thing with BGS, they might be the most backed up of anybody by a mile. I believe the reports are right now is this 30-day sub is actually taking 30 days plus 2 to 3 months. So you're basically looking at 3 to 4 months for a BGS 30-day sub to come back. There's nothing in that pile that justifies a 10-day or a 5-day or 2-day sub. Even BGS 10-day subs are taking a month to 2, and that's $40 a card. I did a 2-day for the Curry and Harden Genesis at $60 a card. And these are all with subgrades. You don't want to do BGS and not do subgrades. You're just wasting time. Okay, so those 10 cards with BGS would cost us $30 a card, so $300, and would take anywhere from 2 to 4 months. All right, let's hop over to PSA. PSA, we are most likely going to be doing in an economy order. Oops. This is $20 a card. All right, so I spent $100 less to get the 10 cards graded. So $200 instead of $300. This is running 45 business days. According to everything I'm seeing on Blowout and Discord and social media, that's relatively accurate. It's also running about 2-ish months. It's about a month to get them checked in, and then a month to get them graded and processed. So cool. That's $200. Now I've saved $100 now on a PSA, on 10 cards going to PSA versus BGS. Let's hop over to SGC. SGC, we would most likely be doing the 20-day at $10 to $15 a card, depending on the value. For the purposes of this, let's say everything in there is under $250, which actually might be the case, other than the Optic Zion and a 10 might be over $250, but it's close enough that they probably let you slide. So we're at $10 a card. That's when now we're really kicking butt. $10 a card. $100 to get them all graded. Here's the problem with SGC. This is not accurate at all. Not even close. I currently have a SGC 20-day order there that was submitted May 11th that I do not have back yet. And I'm probably looking at least another week or two before I get even grades for it, let alone ship back to me based off what I'm seeing from other people's orders and stuff. So you're also looking at about a 3-month turnaround time. Let's see, I submitted May to June, June to July, July to, I bet you I get them back by the end of the month, maybe. So that's almost 3 months. All right. But I am saving $100. So let's flip back, just looking at this stuff alone. Why would I use BGS? $30 a card to submit myself, non-bulk. Remember, we are strictly speaking non-bulk, because bulk orders are taking like 6 months. I'm not messing around with bulk orders. PSA, $20 a card, about 2+ months. And SGC, $10 a card. So BGS is the most expensive to have graded on, I'm going to call this the average card turnaround time. It's not bulk, and it's not one of the premium levels. To me right now, these premium levels are a joke because they're not hitting this 10-day time. They're only hitting 2 and 5. Everything else is backed up. So why does the 10-day even exist? Because you're not getting it back. PSA is about the same unless you pay for the ultra premium. When I did my Zions, I did it as an express, which is 10 business days, and it took about 10 business days. But that's $75 a card. Now, a PSA 10 silver Zions, $2,000, so I figured it was worth the $75 a card in that case. SGC currently is only hitting turnaround time on, I believe, 5-day, 2-day, and 1-day. And once again, those get pretty pricey. The $35 a card, you're probably not going to pay because if you're doing a quick turnaround, it's probably something higher end. So you're probably looking at $85 to $35 a card, depending on exactly what it is. You're going to fall. It seems like a very wide gap there that there should be something in the middle before that jump, but it's neither here nor there. So just based off that, why would you use BGS? And once again, we're talking about this from buying a card, getting it graded, and selling it. perspective. They are the most expensive. It's going to cost you the most money. And as of right now, they're probably the slowest. Even if everyone was hitting on time, they're the most expensive. Just keep that in mind. Beckett is the most expensive. Now, personally, I like the BGS slabs. My two best cards that I own, nothing crazy. I mean, the Giannis is pretty nice, but like, it's just a raw Zion. It's a base Luka. It's not like a silver or anything crazy. I don't have like a ton of high end stuff. But the two key cards of my collection is a Giannis rookie 9.5 and a True Gem um, Luka base Prism 9.5, both in BGS slabs. I really like the BGS slabs. I like the way they protect the cards. I really like the slabs. PSA, I could take it or leave it. They're fine. They're not that big of a deal. They're plain. I do like that they're a little bit smaller. The label's a little bit bland. Whatever. SGC, I like the looks of on paper of the all black slabs, especially with some of the cards, but I've yet to hold one in my hand yet, so I can't compare it as equally as I can BGS and PSA. So, like I said from the beginning, that being set aside, strictly speaking from a placing an order perspective, why are we using BGS? All right, let's pop over to pricing on the resale market. Okay, so here we have, I picked a couple just key players because there's not a lot of SGC data. That's part of the problem with doing this, but you can still even see it between PSA and BGS. This is Zion base Prism. So each one of these lines that you see on this graph, and this is going back to April 17th. So almost 90, I think it's going back 90 days. The top line, the purple line, is PSA 10. Okay. This pink line is SGC 10. This bluish greenish line, BGS 9.5. This yellow line is an SGC 9.5. And I did not do BGS 9 and PSA 9 and SGC 9 because they all basically sell a little bit better than raw. And then this bottom line here is raw. All right. So, first thing you notice, BGS is the most expensive to get graded by if you're submitting yourself. Well, they must sell for the most, right? Well, not exactly. You can see they're semi-middle of the pack. Now, the reason why we're using, for those of you that aren't familiar with BGS, the reason why we're using BGS 9.5 and not BGS 10 is because it's nearly impossible to get a BGS 10. 9.5 is like their PSA 10 in regards to pop counts. I would say 2% of cards submitted get a BGS 10, let alone a black label. A black label is a whole other thing. So I think people like to chase the BGS 10s, because if I put BGS 10 on here, I did not include it on this graph because there's just not a lot of them. They're going to outsell everything, which I get. But let's be real. You're probably not getting a BGS 10. Yeah, you can see how low the sales volume is on it, but this is a BGS 10 black label sold for 7K. But you're not getting that. Okay, get the dream out of your head. You're not getting it. You're probably not even pulling a regular 10. They are super rare. So we're using 9.5 because that's their most common grade by far. All right. So when you look at the pricing and the turnaround times, I just don't understand why you would ever send cards to Beckett. If I buy a Zion base Prism, I go to a card show and I find a Zion base Prism and it looks good, centered's good, surface is good, whatever. Say they have a, what's the current market price on a base Zion Prism? 203. You can see down here. I pay $200 for it. All right, where am I going to send it off to? If I send it to BGS, odds are it's going to get a 9.5. Cool. What can I get for that? $350. Oh, well, what's the PSA 10 go for? $735. Like, what are we doing? why would you submit to BGS? And then if you look at SGC, there's an SGC 10 is around 400, but they have been gaining late. They've been pulling away from BGS 9.5s lately. So I continue to. My theory is that this trend's going to continue. That an SGC 10 is going to split the difference. Excuse me, between these two. So let's say this ends up at 800, this ends up at 400, and this is going to end up at like 5 or 550 would be my guess. An SGC 9.5 sells for a slightly above premium than raw. So BGS 9.5 is kicking SGC 9.5's butt by about $100, but not like a ton, all things considered. 9s are between these two. They go for about 220 in all the companies, regardless of which slab it is, because it's basically being treated as a slightly above raw card. So, yeah, if you're spending money to submit your own cards, I just do not see the reasons to use BGS. On the flip side, for high-end stuff, I shouldn't say high, a Zion-based Prism isn't like, some $5,000 card yet. Stuff like this, I would not be sending to SGC. To me, the way I view it is like this. Anything that's extremely popular, Prism-based rookies, silvers, etc., optic, whatever, I'm sending to PSA. Anything of lower dollar value, I'm going to send to SGC. So like base LeBrons from Optic this year, I'll send an SGC. They're $5 card, $10 to grade it. If it gets an SGC 10, it'll go for $60 or $70 most likely. Only $10 to get it graded. If it doesn't get a 10, I'm not hurt that bad by it versus paying the $20 for PSA or the $30 for BGS for that matter. The other thing is, and this is the biggest one for me, PSA is the most liquid. SGC, from what I have seen, to get fair market value for their prices, you cannot auction them. Their auctions have been getting hammered in regards to coming in at low prices. If you post them at Buy It Nows with best offers, you're much more likely to sell it for what the card probably deserves, and they're still going under that. But the problem is that takes time. I'm in a lot of buy-sell trade groups. I moderate a buy-sell trade Discord channel in one of the larger sports card discords that there is. And I see the SGC slabs. There's someone right now trying to sell a Zion SGC 10 for $550. And he's been trying to sell it for days. And that's a fair price. BGS 9.5 is $350. An SGC 10 is $400. PSA 10 is $735 as of the recording of this video. And it's just taking him a ton of time to sell it because people just don't respect the SGC slabs yet. I hope that changes. I really do. But as of right now, they don't. So now you have a relatively high dollar card that you're having trouble moving, and that's a problem too. You want these things to be liquid. If I post an SGC 10 Zion-based Prism for $550, it's going to take me days to sell it. If I post a PSA 10 Zion Prism at $550, that thing's going to go in 15 seconds if I throw that up on any of the large NBA Facebook groups. Hell, if I put it up there for $650, it would probably sell instantly, or even $700. And SGC Slab is not going to do that. So you're costing yourself money, and a lot of money. This is not, we're talking about, once again, this is an average, and this is creeping up for sure. That's a $300 difference. That's almost a PSA 10 Ja Morant base Prism difference between those two. That adds up. So once again, for the lower end stuff, these group closer together, and that's, you know what I mean? Like $10 to $15 on a $100 card isn't as big of a deal, especially when you're paying less for the grading and taking less risk. On this mid-range to higher end stuff, I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love for SGC to be right there with PSA. I just think it makes sense to go PSA. Um, and once again, I just don't see the purpose of BGS, given their prices, their turnaround times, and what they resell for. So like I said, guys, you're not getting a 10. Let's look at a couple other cards. This one is crazy to me. And I'm going to let me flip back to Zion for a second before we move on to the next one. When I'm saying not submitting to BGS, I'm saying submitting my own cards. On the flip side of that, I like buying BGS slabs. I feel like they're always very undervalued. So once again, this isn't me not liking BGS. It's me not liking BGS for submitting cards to resell. I'm strictly looking at it for that standpoint. If I go on the marketplace to buy cards, I like looking at BGS 9.5s because to me, they're extremely undervalued. To me, this price should not be this big. Maybe that'll change one day, but I can get a BGS 9.5 for a lot cheaper. Maybe I can cross that over to a PSA 10. Or maybe I just hold it in a 9.5 slab. I know I'm getting a above average card, so most likely a PSA 10 and a BGS 9.5. Not always. So I do like targeting BGS 9.5s to buy, but I do not like submitting my own cards personally to BGS to resell. So just because you don't want to use them for grading your own cards doesn't mean you shouldn't be buying them. That's two different sides of a coin. The one that got me thinking about this topic in general is the AD rookie, Anthony Davis 2012 Prism. Let's look at these. This is wild. His PSA 10 is $1,600. His PSA 9 is selling for $750. PSA 9. His BGS 9.5s, $750. What? The same price? Less? The 9's outselling the 9.5? And Raw's $550. I just put this on there as like a placeholder. This is crazy to me. This is a buying. This is a massive buying opportunity. Massive. You look at the chart here, you can see. Let me just change this to like the last 14 days. And go down here. BGS 9.5s have gone down 7%. 9s have gone up 30%. Raw has gone up 80%. And PSA 10s are creeping along with their 5 to 10% a week. So here, there is a massive buying opportunity on BGS 9.5 AD rookies. But the fact that this even happened is wild. A PSA 9 should not be outselling a BGS 9.5. It should even be close, especially on higher end cards like this. So this is where I like BGS 9.5s. They typically lag behind the spikes of the other cards. You swoop in and pick them up, and then they catch up eventually, and then you can either hold them or sell them or do whatever. I also ran the chart for Luka just for shoots and giggles. You can see here raw Lukas are going for about $285. PSA 9s are $280, BGS 9.5s are $550, and PSA 10s are over $900 now. To me, this chart looks more right, like the PSA 9 versus the BGS 9.5. This seems correct to me. BGS 9.5 being half as much almost as a PSA 10, not quite half, but you get the idea. 550 to 915. To me, that is too far of a spread. These two should be closer together. Whether it's the BGS going up or the Luka coming down, most likely the BGS going up. But to me, those are too spread out. But this looks more normal versus this AD where they're right next to each other. Like, that's crazy to me. So this seems normal to me. This AD, this is a buying opportunity. If you have money laying around, to me, this is a no doubt about it buying opportunity. These are mispriced right now. The Luka chart looks more normal, and the Zion chart looks more normal. There's not a lot of SGC data on either one of these two cards, so that's why I didn't compare them for the purposes of this. So, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about when submitting cards for grading. Choosing the correct company is key. As much as I hate to say it, because I don't know anyone that actually really likes PSA per se, but they are the most liquid and they command the most value. So if you were in this to make money, that is who you need to use. If you're in it for the hobby, pick whatever one you think the card looks best in, because that's all that matters. I'm strictly skewing this video towards buying them raw, getting them graded, and reselling. I do think, like I said before, my major takeaway from digging into this is for submitting your own cards to summarize this entire video, BGS is irrelevant. I would never use them. Maybe on autos. BGS is pretty respected on autos because they grade the auto. But even with that, I don't know that I would use them. I see no reason to submit cards to BGS right now. None. Zero. PSA outsells them. PSA outsells faster in regards to liquidity. And then on the lower end stuff, I'd be using SGC. So like these raw base, or not even those. Those I would probably send to PSA. But like, let me find some, like these. This, to me, base optic, perfect SGC card. You can get these for $5. We talked about these in one of my recent videos. Send these off to SGC at 10 a piece. Whenever they get back, they get back. It's LeBron. His prices aren't going anywhere. You spent $10 to grade them. If a couple comes back 9 or 9.5s, it's not that big a deal. You only spent $10. You basically break even. But if you pop a 10, then you could sell it for, in a PSA 10, this goes for about 80 or $85. In an SGC 10, you could probably get 50 or 60 out of it. So a $5 card plus a $10 grading fee. If you're good about picking out the winners and you get an SGC 10 back, you could make 40 or $50 pretty easy on those. But it's going to take 3 or 4 months to get your cards back, at least at their current turnaround times. And to me, that's not acceptable in regards to times. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Leave me some comments. Once again, I should always say this at the top of the video. I always forget. Give me a like. Give me a sub. All the YouTube shenanigans. If you guys have any questions about all this nonsense, let me know down below, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.